Hello YouTube, my name is Kalia, also known as kkhabirr Speaks. Welcome to my channel. I have spent the past few years or so kind of hiding behind my writing, and recently I realized there's some things that do need to be talked about face to face on a bigger platform. So here I am. Welcome. I don't know if this will be my first and last YouTube video, but if you like what you see, subscribe and stick around. So today we are going to talk about 5 tips for traveling or study abroad as a conscious Black woman. And I want to make an emphasis on the conscious part, because there are some things that if you are not woke, you may not notice, and those things may not bother you. So I'm here to talk to all the conscious Black women out there. There are so many things that I wish someone would have told me prior to studying abroad in Brazil, where I am currently right now. I am filming this from Fortaleza, Brazil. So I just want to go through some tips that I felt like as a Black woman I wanted to share with other Black women. So number 1, know where you're going and how that affects the identities you hold. And I know you're probably like, Kalia, duh, know where you're going. And yes, duh, know where you're going. I hope you know where you're going if you're studying abroad for a long time, but this is so much bigger than just knowing how beautiful a place is and what people like to do there, because as a Black woman, how is the social climate? What religions are practiced? What beliefs do the people that I will be interacting with day to day hold? So for me personally, I took a course, a comparative race course of the United States, South Africa, and Brazil. So I knew a lot about the historical makeup of Brazil. I was ecstatic to come to Brazil because I knew that Brazil had the largest population of Black people outside of Nigeria. So in my scope of vision, I said, there's really not much I should be super tense about that I am not tense about in the United States. I understood that Brazil had this notion of the racial democracy, that racism doesn't exist. Honestly, in the United States, people try their hardest to pretend like racism doesn't exist also. So I didn't think that this was going to be too far off from my comfort zone, and I was totally incorrect. My program is housed in Fortaleza, Brazil. I did little to no research about Fortaleza, and that honestly came to my detriment, because when I got here, very quickly did I learn that Fortaleza pretends that Black people don't exist. So as a Black woman, at the time when I first came, I had some burgundy crochet braids and they were hot. But people would stop me in the streets and try to touch my hair and touch my face, touch my hair, and all of a sudden I became almost like a Black muse. It was almost like they had never seen something like this Black woman. And you know, it's would have been important to know that the people act like Black people don't exist where I was spending a vast majority of my program stay. So like I said, know where you're going. Just make sure that you know where you're going and how that affects where you'll be living. Number 2, know who you're going with. So I have been traveling through the School for International Training, and I was recommended this program by a friend. Thank you to my dear friend Sarah for recommending this program to me. And when I did my research, there was a lot of, everyone knows about the School for International Training. It's one of the longest running study abroad programs. I am doing the program for social justice and sustainable development. So on paper, this program looks beautiful, immaculate. It looks like we were going to get down to the nitty-gritty, do some critical thinking. We were going to really challenge the norm, volunteer, be in places that we could have never gone, and see things that we weren't going to typically see. And I honestly felt bamboozled when I got to this program, and that's the reason why I'm saying to push for doing your research, because I believe that social justice is really hot right now. Doing social justice programs has really become this way to kind of get white kids turned about social justice and give them a pat on the back and say, yes, I'm learning about social justice, I'm learning about culture and the people, and I went here and I did this, and not actually taking the time to dig deep at the root and think critically about what you're seeing and what you're doing and how that relates to not only where you are right now, but where you are back home, and how do we become active advocates for the things that we're seeing? How do we talk about it? What do we do? What do we take back? And that was not something that this program provided for me through the program. And I would say that it's definitely important to take the time to research and say, do our values align? Do our morals align? Do we ethically align? And of course, there is no perfect program, but as a Black woman, I think that reaching out to another Black woman would have been the most ideal situation for me, because I have definitely seen some differences, which I'll talk about soon, with the way that Black women are being treated in the program. Like, am I going to be placed in a position of teaching other people when that's not my job? I don't get paid to teach anyone else. So it's just definitely, I'd say, research, do your research, dig deep, go above and beyond to make sure that this is the program that you want to be with, because at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, you are going to be with them every day. And if you're traveling independently, I'd say also do your research and strategize to how you will connect with other organizations. What will it look like to do that? Just know, have a plan, have a game plan for sure. So number 3 is self-care. And you know, this is something that has been an emotional whirlwind for me since I've been in Brazil, and more recently, even more so. I'd say that I spent so much of my preparation time for this trip, and even so much of 2016, trying to introspectively reflect on myself, find myself spiritually, and face some of my demons so that I could be my most present, my most loving, my most ready and willing to do things with everybody's self, you know. And I had come with my notebooks, I had come with everything I need to meditate. I was definitely so ready to be here. And there's so many things that happen that you don't expect to happen. There's so many emotional unrest that goes on. And I'd say you have to be prepared for the worst and be ready to take care of yourself in those predicaments. So I say, how are you going to self-care? What are you going to do to unpack what you're experiencing? If you do have day-to-day racist interactions, what does that look like? If you are getting harassed in the street, how are you going to take care of yourself in that situation? If you have people grabbing you aggressively, what are you going to do? And I will say that I have felt like back in the United States, I kind of had a safety to my Blackness and my Black womanhood, where I did not necessarily feel like some of the things that have happened to me were directly in my line of sight. So I definitely would say, what does self-care look like for you? What are your self-care practices already? How can you enhance that? For me, something that I did before I left was I created a website, kkhabirrspeaks.com. It's in the link below. And honestly, sometimes writing, well, I love writing. I'm someone who's always in my head. Writing serves as a way to process and see, like, okay, this did happen, this did happen, this did happen. And once I released a lot of my posts, receiving the responses that I did refueled me, and it did something for me. Another big thing that I found to be very comforting was keeping up with the new music releases, the black music scene, you know, when Solange dropped A Seat at the Table, I listened to that nonstop, and there's just something about the Black American culture that can revive. So I would definitely say, what does self-care look like for you now, and what could self-care look like for you in the future? So number 4, the importance. Honestly, if there's nothing you take away from this video, if you think this video is boring, if you don't care about me talking, you don't want to hear me talk no more, if there's anything you take away from this video, I hope it is this tip, which is number 4, the importance of documenting your experience and finding a like mind to unpack with. This has saved me here, and it has really, it's kept me through the 12 weeks of being in Brazil. I have experienced such a vast array of things that fall into racism, that fall into sexism, that fall into misogyny, that there's just so many things that I have faced that my program has not supported me in understanding that this was happening to me because I am a Black woman. I had literally examined the difference between the Black woman's experience in this program and the non-Black woman, and even being in a space with my colleagues and having the conversation, it seems like I'm angry about my experience, I'm complaining about my experience, and that there's really no real there's nothing real to what I'm experiencing. And I can say that can be discouraging, and it can make you seem like you're crazy. And sometimes I'm like, okay, well, am I bugging? Like, is this really happening to me? Are these things real? So I definitely would say to write them down, because sometimes so much happens. The only way that you're going to keep some of these experiences is through your writing. And you can sit, for me, my friend that I had met here, Abby, who is also a Black woman, us sitting down and processing things as it happened, reflecting on things that happened, just like going through so many different things, really served as a tool. We were able to talk about the historical context, look up different writings, match it to what's happening now, what happened in the past. And honestly, that's sometimes what you need to feel validated in your experience and your being as a Black woman. A lot of people will put the angry Black woman, or there's so many different things that get put on Black women for their experiences, and we are expected to be so many different aspects of strong and understanding and compassionate. And sometimes you don't feel like that. Sometimes you do feel like shit because you're experiencing I will speak for myself, I have felt some of the worst that I've ever felt in my life here in Brazil because of some of the things that have happened to me. And the only thing that has kept me is some of the conversations that I've had with other Black women that I've met along the way, with Abby, with Mom, like with the people who are around me, who are Black women, saying, you know what, Kalia, I have been going through the same things. I understand, and I'm here for you. So that is really one of my biggest tips. Number 5, last but most definitely not least, is trust the process and trust yourself. T the P, T the me. I know that sounds so corny, but this is something that is a saying that gets me through a lot of different situations, and helps me adjust accordingly. I'd say in the course of this program, I have watched a lot of the things that I thought were going to happen, that I expected to happen, that I wanted to happen, fall through. I have watched things not come to pass, and I had to quickly adjust and learn that it's a part of the process, and I cannot let that deter the work that I came to do here. At the end of the day, I we'll talk about that in a moment, but I came here for Black women and to learn about the different experiences of Black women of the African diaspora. And you can't let any of these other factors or foolishness or buffoonery, anything, coming your way from doing the work, and take care of yourself and trust yourself and your intuition. There has been a lot of times where I've had to take a step back from some things, sit some things out, you know, decide if I want to do this or this, and like I trust myself and I'm trusting the process and I'm trusting my spirit and my intuition to take me to where I need to be. So that is my final tip. Thank you for watching thus far. For the next portion of my video, will be talking about what it is that I did in Brazil. Actually, like, okay, you were in Brazil, and so like I said, I am a student at Colorado State University studying ethnic studies and sociology. It is my senior year. Okay. I have a academic interest in studying Black women of the African diaspora, the recreation of identity in a system that isn't necessarily always creating positive images of Black women or celebrating Black women. How are Black women celebrating themselves and creating spaces for other Black women in kind of a non-traditional healing aspect? So that's what I intended to do. I had a community development project portion where I was intended to work with an organization who does a lot of work around this. To make a long story a little bit shorter, things kind of fell through with this organization. I felt like my presence was not, and my time was not really needed in this space, and I did not feel welcome to spend my time there. I did not, and I had in my first week spent some time with an organization called Bahia Street that works with Afro-Brazilian girls who are in socially vulnerable situations. I honestly fell in love. For the first time there, felt the love that I had been needing on this trip through these ladies, and their ages 6 to 13. I can't even describe the warmness that I felt when I came to Bahia Street. And I finally was in a situation that was reciprocal. I saw myself in so many of the ladies, and it was so important to me as a Black woman to say, hey, this is a program that needs more volunteers, needs more people. These girls are clearly looking up to me as someone who it matters and they want me here. So I did make the shift, and I did work with Bahia Street for the course of 3 weeks. Since I did not have a plan for my project, I had the opportunity to be an observer for a couple of days and act accordingly. So Bahia Street serves as a after-school program, so the ladies are giving lunch, snack. When I was there, they had capoeira, samba, math, English, and a hip-hop class. So I was going to work primarily with the English class. So my first couple of days, I kind of was in the background, just having conversations with the girls and observing the environment of Bahia Street. So it was very interesting because this is a program that focuses on Black girls, and I will say that Blackness there is definitely on the spectrum of Blackness. You saw all forms of Blackness, all colors of Blackness, and in Brazil, everything is self-identification, so that always throws something, an interesting mix to the understanding that we have as Black Americans. So it was interesting to watch the English class because the English class was taught by a white woman, a white American woman, and co-taught by a Black American woman. And I noticed the issue of cultural competence towards the girls because the material was culturally irrelevant to them. I thought that at times it became challenging to sit in a classroom and watch them do things like make a turkey for Thanksgiving when they don't celebrate Thanksgiving, you know, just different things that in my opinion I felt like there was so much more that we could have been talking about to empower the girls. I did not want to stand idle and not take action, and I felt compelled to it was my intention to find a poem about blackness and embracing your blackness and loving all parts of yourself, which presented some challenges because we are dealing with ages 6 to 13, which means there's totally different levels of reading comprehension, and I wanted to do it in Portuguese and English. So I wanted to find something that wasn't too difficult, something they could just flow with, and you know, that they would understand. So I searched for a poem. I did not have a lot of luck with doing so, but I did end up deciding to write the poem myself. And I had the opportunity to teach it for 2 days and do a project with the girls, drew a picture of themselves, and wrote what they loved about themselves. And it was just such a transformative space. I got to see the ladies talk about loving their hair and loving their skin, and I will show some clips of the different groups and them doing it, but it was extremely powerful to see this kind of thing go on. It was very interesting because I did have my white colleague participate in this also, and she drew a picture of herself with her straight hair, and it became a thing like, I want straight hair, draw straight hair on me. So we even had a further conversation about loving ourselves and who we are and what we have. Between the 8 to 10 group, they had a lot of interesting debates on who was black, which was really interesting, and they even posed the question, on the inside, are we black or white? So, you know, just to be in a space to get that conversation going was very moving. I felt like working with Bahia Street utilized me. I felt like I had a purpose and I had a meaning for being in Salvador. I was in Salvador, Bahia for that month. It was a very powerful experience. I feel like giving back to the community, giving back to your community, even abroad, is something that holds a very big importance to me. And for the first time, I did feel like this was a space that was for me, that I could be in, that I could heal in, that I could contribute to. And that was one of the most powerful experiences I've had here. I do hope that you have gained some insight to what I've done. I hope you found my tips useful. I'm going to play a clip of my beautiful ladies and reciting the poem called Mujer Negra, Black Woman. Thanks for stopping by. English. Okay. Mujer Negra. Mujer Negra. Black woman. Black woman. Eu sou uma mulher negra. Eu sou uma mulher negra. I am a black woman. I am a black woman. Orgulhoso. 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 Todos orgulhosos.